Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network, and we are back to discuss episode 3 of season 2 of HBO's The Last of Us, a video game adaptation. I am one of your hosts for this episode. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined by Liz Seiko.
What's going on?
We are not joined by Mark Iacobino, who is the player of the games.
Yes.
So at the top of the episode, understand we have not played the game. However, thanks to Mark, I did talk to him before to see what was in the game, what was not in the game. There is a fair amount that is not in the game that they're taking a lot of creative liberties with in this episode. So a lot of this is original. So let's just jump into it. Obviously, if you guys are watching this, you must have watched episode 2. And so we know that the inevitable happened. Joel is gone. And there's a lot that's going to have to happen now because of that, obviously. Now, I know we opened you up to this last week explaining that in the scene in the game, it's not Dina that's there, it's Tommy that's there. And so we kind of get this prologue in the beginning of the episode of like Tommy kind of having that last moment with his brother, which I thought was really sweet. And it was a kind of a good way to have the send off. So I liked that part of it. But then we really deal with, excuse me, the aftermath of what happens with the siege at the camp they're at, obviously, and then dealing with Ellie's reawakening and understanding, like, kind of reliving what happened and understanding that Joel's dead. I actually thought that might have been one of her best scenes in the show. But this is a very Ellie-focused episode, obviously, and she has this path where she now wants to go on not a revenge tour, but a tour for justice, is how she puts it. And I'm curious your thoughts on the opening of the episode and this trajectory she wants to go on in trying to kind of have revenge, which you did predict. You were like, I'm assuming that's probably what's going to wind up happening. So how are you feeling after watching episode 3?
I'm feeling okay after episode 3. I think it's because episode 2 was so huge that you needed to give it a little bit of grace to the show, that they're not obviously going to have a huge power punch of a follow-up episode after that. I was expecting them to do an episode like this, a little bit slower pace, a little bit just catching up on the aftermath and letting the actors and the characters really breathe through what happened. So this met my exact expectations. Like, nothing major happened. It just kind of was setting the plot scenes, the plot points of the future scenes that are going to come. The scene with Ellie was very interesting, I would say. I don't know if I loved it as much as I wanted to, though, because I was kind of hoping that her character would have a bigger change. Like, she's still kind of giving that
angsty teen.
Yeah. And like, I just want to be like, girl, like, your father figure died in front of you. Like, that to me should change a person a little bit more. And I get it. It's more of that she's trying to cover up and protect herself and show that she's not affected by this. So that's why she's putting up this front. I get that. So I hope that they kind of explore it more and let her just mature a little bit more, especially since she is the main character now at this point fully.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that it just becomes to a point where sometimes she just comes off a little too unlikable, and you don't want that, especially now, like you said, when this is the character we're going to be rooting for going forward to get this revenge for Joel dying. I think you do see it a little bit in the scene where she finally goes back to the house and she's having the emotional kind of
she
thing
goes in the closet.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think it would have been nicer to see a little bit more of that. I would have loved to have seen a conversation with her and Tommy, like something a little bit more than just being like, we need to go and do this. Like, I can't believe I have to explain to you why we have to go do this. And he's like, don't talk to me like I don't know who the guy is.
Yeah. I agree. But then I'm also like, I don't think that's her character to show any emotion to anybody, really. I think it is something that's more hidden. So I think one of my favorite scenes of hers in the episode was her in front of the grave.
Oh, yes.
I thought that was a really sweet moment. And
it also mirrors the opening of the season.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it just showed that like she's clearly feeling these emotions. Yeah, she's not having these mental breakdowns and like sobbing, but she's definitely being affected by this loss. I just kind of want to see it mature and like manifest a little bit, especially because it's been 3 months after. Which that I kind of want to talk to you about. How do you feel about all these like time jumps going on? Because I've seen a little bit of internet stuff that people are starting to get like annoyed with just how many jumps we're doing. Like, what do you think about those? Do they bother you at all or not really?
Not necessarily. I think it's because, I mean, I think the thing that sucks about it is that maybe it's just that you like the characters so much in the first season, you want to spend more time with them. But it's like you don't, like I talked about in the first episode, which I know you weren't on, that was Mark and I. But the heart of the first season is the relationship between Joel and Ellie, and now we're not getting it anymore.
I know.
Like it's gone. It's gone forever. So not having that, I think, could potentially hurt it, and it's why the relationship between Ellie and Dina needs to be so strong, and it needs to form over time.
So it needs to like move faster a little bit.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, the other part of it too, which so you're asking me about the time jumps, but what I wanted to talk to you about is like this episode is the first one this season where it is literally characters moving along. You know what I mean? Like you talked about, you're like, I don't know, season 1, you've expressed off camera, you're like, season 1.
Oh, 100%. I know what you're talking about.
Season 1 feels a bit like
a video game.
Yes,
it feels like a video game where
point A to point B.
Yes, versus watching a story and tale. We're just watching people get to a story plot point.
And that was what bothered me the most about this episode, where it's not the time jumps, it's just that, oh, so they left Jackson Hole and now they're in Seattle. That was shocking to me. And again, maybe there's some things in between in the video game, maybe there's not, but I think that they probably do get there quick, because a lot of the things that are new that are not in the game had to be added to chunk up this episode. So it makes me think like, okay, like we're going to start getting, again, like a lot more action going forward, like maybe next week.
Well, I mean, there's also only 4 more episodes of this season, so I don't think that they can allow themselves to have this many episodes of just kind of meandering. I think the reason it's not bothering me as much is because I really was disappointed in season 1, because I think I didn't have that knowledge that it was going to be kind of just like, oh, we're going to go on this journey and like, let's see what happens. And so now going into season 2, I know what to expect.
Yeah.
And like I said before, I was expecting this episode to kind of fully suck, honestly, because I was like, how do you go from literally killing off your main character to like how would they give us something to compete with that? So I had really low expectations, and I think that's why I don't hate this episode, is because I went in just expecting them to kind of give us a break before they start hitting us again with more action.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of repercussions too to obviously what happened in last week, even more than just Joel dying. I mean, we talked a little bit about it, but like the siege in Jackson Hole,
it's crazy.
Tons and tons and tons and tons of people dead.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see the ramifications of that. Now, is that something you wish we would have seen a little bit more of in the immediate aftermath, because we jumped 3 months to where things are being rebuilt and you like have like people just in new, like Jesse, for example, like Mark had asked us, I think, I don't know if it was on camera or off camera, but he asked us about Jesse, and he's like, kind of plays a bigger role in the games, and it's like now he goes from like we're both like he's fine to now he's in a spot in the council.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal. I mean, he went from like, again, like hooking up with Dina to like now he's one of like the figureheads of Jackson Hole going forward. So did you want to see more in the immediate aftermath that you wish you got, or are you happy we ended up 3 months later after the siege?
No, I'm happy that we didn't spend a whole episode, because I think that they were able to achieve that just with like, what are we gonna watch them just like rebuilding? Yeah. Like for me, I'd much rather watch them going through like beautiful Wyoming on horseback and just like, okay, I feel like I'm watching like Yellowstone.
I was gonna say that's a Yellowstone response.
Yeah,
right there.
like okay, let me watch that versus watching them like build a building that I don't know if you have to do in the video game. I don't know.
Yeah.
And plus, like I said, I feel like the rest of the story is going to be this justice / revenge camp like ride that we're going on. So like I don't want them to waste an episode of just like watching this town have to rebuild. So then like I don't know, do we think that we're going to spend a lot more time in Wyoming and like watching them keep rebuilding, or are we going to be fully on this Dina and Ellie train?
That's an interesting question, because I do think like, so Tommy in the show is very different from Tommy in the game, just the characters in general and the fact that what their experiences are now a little bit, with one being there and watching Joel die and the other one not. And I think he's an important character. Like I just think that Tommy, we're going to have to kind of go back to him and
like, what are they going to do with him?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, like, again, I haven't played the game, so I'm not sure what they could potentially do. I think there's going to have to be something else. I mean, we do get a conversation with him and Gale in this episode. Gale, again, not a character in the video game at all.
Yeah.
So that's completely fresh and new. And we do get the return of Kaitlyn O'Hara in this episode. Was she in episode 2 at all? She's not. Not in last week's at all.
No.
So she just shows back up now that everyone's gone, and she has a conversation with Ellie, too, about what she's dealing with, and she knows that she's hiding that she's immune, which is a big thing. So anything on Gale? What do you think about that? And maybe something with her and Tommy, like where you think she's going to get it out of Tommy?
Get what out?
That Ellie is immune?
I mean, that's the only real big like card that I feel like is relevant kind of with the town still right now. But like I just don't know where they're going, is because like Tommy sounds like he's one of the like a very prominent character in the game. I think that a lot of the people that play the game are going to be very upset if he doesn't have such like a big weighted role. I also think that it's kind of like, I don't know, I don't want them to keep him on the back burner too long. Like I want him to stay a relevant character, and all of these other characters. Like I love Kaitlyn O'Hara. I really like the work that she's doing. I hope that her character becomes a little bit more prominent rather than just the drunk therapist.
Yeah.
Because it's a little one-noted for me right now. Like I want her to become a little bit more of a prominent figure. I just don't know if they're gonna do that.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, I don't know. There is another character, when we already have so many new characters, but there is another character that's very major in the game that we're gonna get in this season.
Yeah.
He's been in previews. I know I've referenced him off camera to you. The character's name is Isaac.
I know nothing about this character.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm pretty sure he's in charge of the militia that they come from. The Wolf militia. Liberation Force.
Washington Liberation Front.
Front is what it is. I'm pretty sure he's the head of that. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, video game fans.
Come for him in the comments,
please
everyone.
Don't. But I'm not exactly sure. But I know that he is like a really kick-ass character in the game, and he's like very menacing. And Jeffrey Wright is, I would argue, I love Kaitlyn O'Hara. I would argue that Jeffrey Wright might be the strongest actor that we've seen in the show.
Okay.
We haven't even seen his work yet in the show, but I just think it's hard for me to not like one of his performances.
Yeah.
So I am excited to see what eventually comes of that, and if we start to also see like how he hardened Abby maybe, and what came of that, because you obviously know now too, I think you know this, that in the game you're playing as both Abby and Ellie at points.
Yes.
So there is an element of it that is very divisive amongst the fans, that like you're now on a path of like Abby is your main protagonist, even though you know that she kills Joel. So how do you think they start to do something like that? The other thing, before you answer that question, I did see that Kaitlyn Dever is only up for is potentially going to be up for guest actress in a drama, which means that she has to be in less than half the episodes.
Well, she wasn't in this one.
She wasn't in this one at all, which means that less than half. So she's probably in one or two more. That's it. So knowing that, and where do you think they could go? Like, do you have any inkling? You have any idea? Or do you have sort of something where you're like, this is what I really want to see them do. This is where I want to see them continue on for the next 4 weeks.
I think that, well, I have a lot of thoughts, because I will say this episode did surprise me, because I fully was under the impression that the Wolf organization was like a small little group, and they really got me on the last shot of showing how big this like front is,
Yeah.
and like that they actually have no idea what they're dealing with right now. So I like that element of surprise, because here we have like very confident young like people being like, yeah, we can take them down, let's do this. And then little do they know, like they're going into a full ass army right now.
Yeah.
I also, so like I'm excited to see their like revelation about that. A part of me thinks that maybe they go back to the town when they realize to get like backup, because for me, Dina's too smart to think that her and Ellie can actually handle that many people.
Mhm.
I think that she's a smart enough character. I also really like her character now after this episode. I feel like we finally got to like really see her as a full scope person. So part of me is like, maybe they go back and then that's how Tommy gets involved, is because they go back and like plead forgiveness of like, well, we left, I know, but like we need to go stop them. They're becoming like this huge entity.
Mhm.
That could be a theory of mine. I'm also super intrigued by this really weird, interesting cult that we got a taste of in this episode.
Not in the game.
Not in the game.
Not in the game.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Mark told me that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Okay, so maybe we don't get anything of that cult ever again,
It's
and they're just
possible.
completely demolished.
It's possible.
Wow. Okay. Okay. A part of me is like, was that even the wolf? I don't know, the wolves that like killed them, or like was it somebody else? I know that they said like, oh, it's wolves, like get down, but like maybe there's like a third
Clan or
group that we haven't even been introduced to yet that is going to kind of come into play. But ultimately, my theory for like the end of this season is it's going to come down to Ellie and Abby fighting it out. And we do have a third season though coming.
I don't think we're getting that by the end of the season.
You don't think we're getting their confrontation?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think somebody gets hurt? You don't think another person dies like dramatically at the end?
I think that I mean we get a glimpse of Danny Ramirez's character on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that members of their group are going to die. I don't know who it would be. I just don't think Abby. I think they're, again, like,
you think Abby's safe
the
until next
four
season?
central characters I think going forward that we're going to be focusing on. And again, this is a non-gamer, so I don't know. But Ellie and Dina over here, and Abby and Owen over here. I think that it's going to lead to, like, it's going to be something with the four of them. I think that they're going to take out everybody else. That might not all be this season. And I do think they're going to need reinforcements. Like, they're not going to be able to handle all of it.
No,
just the
so
two
I
of
think
them.
that's a good way of getting them, like, back with
I
the
think
main
they're going to join them
characters.
along their journey, though. I don't think they're going back to Jackson Hole.
Okay, you think that Tommy's going to...
I think it's going to be a small group that's going to go and be like, we need to go do this. And I'm not even sure if it's necessarily going to be Tommy. It might be Jesse. I think there's a possibility it's led by Jesse, because I think Jesse has feelings for Dina, and he clearly really does respect Ellie as a friend. He always has a soft spot for her. You know what I mean? Like, you see it in the opening of the season with the pulling of the punches. You see it where he's like, and they make jokes about like how he's like Captain Wyoming or whatever, and he's always trying to do the right thing, but he's still giving her, like, he's like, listen, he's like, I'm trying to like help you. Like, nobody is going to vote for you if you're angry. Yeah. Like, so get your thoughts together.
He also looked a little disappointed when the votes came in, I would say.
I think he probably was one of the three S's that came through.
Okay. So do you think...
I think he's the biggest wild card right now is Jesse. And I feel better about it after this week.
Do you?
I do. I liked the choices that they made with his character. I actually like... I was just happy Mark told me, like, he goes, I don't know. He's like, I barely remember if there is a council in the game. He's like, but I know that Jesse's not on it if there is a council. So I think that adding that caveat to it is really interesting. Especially because I do think that Tommy does obviously have the soft spot for Ellie too, and he's gonna have to play into it at some point. So yeah, there's a lot of fact. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, it's a big setup episode. Like, it's a big, like, all right, we're taking us, like, we have to fill the space, we have to understand these relationships. Captain O'Hara's character being completely new, it is like, I agree with you. I think she's a very talented actress. It's so nice to see her on the show and doing kind of a different kind of environment than what she's been doing recently. But I would hate to see her become one note, because she's such a dynamic performer that you want to be able to see more of that. I want to see more. I'm hoping for another interaction between her and Ellie.
Maybe.
Where we get something. We maybe actually get something out of her. But
what do you need? So, like, you're not as excited about this episode. What do you need in the next episode to feel like, okay, we're getting somewhere? Do you want it? Do you think it's going to be an exciting episode, or you think it's going to be kind of more this tone?
So if I had to be honest, I really think the next episode is going to focus very heavily on introducing us to more of what the wolf group is. And I think we're going to get it might wind up being one of those episodes where we get partly flashback, but also partly maybe just like, again, it could be like slight flashback. It could show you kind of how they formed and all that stuff.
I wouldn't
Isaac's
hate that.
role. I think that we need a breather now from this to understand what they're getting themselves into. And personally, I don't know how you felt about it, but like the aside episodes last season were like the biggest surprises to me. Like, I really loved the stuff they did with Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett. I really love the episode they did with the two brothers. Like, that stuff was compelling television. Like,
well, it showed you the world too that they're living in, and it's affecting different people and not just like these two main characters. And
I thought that was the biggest thing with the cult that actually made me interested, because I was like, look at all these different factions and how everybody is operating differently within this world. And it's doing the same thing. Did you watch The Walking Dead?
For like one season.
Okay, it's doing this thing that Walking Dead did, but I think it's doing it more effectively, where it's giving you the different like ideas of all these different factions and how they think is one way to live, and one has a religious background, and one, again, believes in like what Abby said. It's like believing in the violence of doing what you think is right. And then it's like Jackson Hole tries to live like a real community, and they try to keep everything still like the closest to society as it was. And I am curious to see like what's going to happen with that, because at some point, like these other people in the world are aware of one another now. And so it's like, how are we going to see how this affects the residents in this community that we're now starting to care for, whether it's Jesse, whether it's Tommy, whether it's Gail, whether it's all these characters that we're now getting a little bit more exposure to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate a flashback episode of Abby first getting to the wolves and like finding them in Seattle. I wouldn't hate that.
What if it wasn't shaped around Abby? Would you hate that?
Ooh, who would it be shaped around? Just in general? Like,
what if it's shaped around Isaac, this character that we have yet to see?
I wouldn't. I don't know.
You'd have to see how it was executed.
I'd have to see how it goes.
That's fair.
I'd have to see.
Dina and Ellie, their relationship. We get more of them.
Yeah.
We get more of that in this episode. Isabela Merced, I personally think might be my favorite character of the season thus far.
I agree.
And I wanted to we didn't have a chance to talk about her really at all last week. She didn't have much to do, but your thoughts on her role so far and the conversations and the chemistry building, because Mark and I talked week one about how I had said, I was like, again, not knowing the game, you need that central relationship to be really strong with your protagonists. And it was a father-daughter relationship with Joel and Ellie. Now we're having like an intimate romantic relationship between Dina and Ellie. So what did you think about some of their scenes this week?
This was probably my favorite episode for them. In the last two episodes, I don't really know if I like connected with Dina at all. I don't think that there was enough of her to really be able to understand her character enough. But I think even just like we got to learn a lot about her. When she's like fully prepared, she has a really great head on her shoulders of being like, we can't just go guns a-blazing into this thing. We need to be prepared. And then also then there's like, she's clearly also just a sensitive person when she's vomiting from seeing all the dead bodies. Like that is a humanistic reaction, which then makes us kind of more empathetic with her of like, okay, she's like she's a normal person that like is shocked by seeing a massacre that occurred.
Mhm.
So I think it's a really good like parallel that's happening between the two of them. I'm interested and excited to see what happens if there's like a love triangle that occurs. I don't really want there to be like a super lovey-dovey love triangle of like Dina having to decide like which way
With
like,
Jesse, you're talking
yes,
about. Yeah, yeah.
like when he comes back into play, because I think he's definitely gonna. I don't want it to be like, oh, Dina has to make like a decision, and then like what, it becomes like an actual decision of who do I save, like they both get hurt or something. I don't want it to become melodrama like that. I like that we're in these supernatural situations and yet we're still having like
Human conflict.
yes,
Yeah.
of like somebody trying to figure out their sexuality. Who are they attracted to? Are they attracted to like who do they want to continue a relationship with? Even her laying in the tent, like talking about Jesse's demeanor and that she hopes that she's not causing his sadness.
Mhm.
Like that's just showing that even though these people are in heightened situations of life and death, they're still having these everyday thoughts and concerns that humanizes them.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
I think that you're starting to see more of the chemistry build, which I think is important. And we're going to see a lot of them together now, I think, at least for the next few
Yeah.
weeks. So last thing that I was thinking about that we haven't brought up, Seth makes the decision to stand up at the council meeting and side with Ellie, and before Ellie even gets to speak, but siding with the fact that they need to go get revenge. They need to let outsiders understand who we are at Jackson Hole.
Mhm.
And then being like the one that is on watch and decides to not only help Ellie and Dina start their journey, but trades rifles. He's like,
Mhm.
this one's better. So he gets this a secondary redeeming thing. He already did apologize to Ellie
Yep.
in last week's episode before they go out. But what did you think about that choice and how they decided to do that? I'm not sure if that's in the game or not. I could check, see if I asked Mark that.
You could take a look. I
But-
enjoyed it. I thought that it was a nice like it just kind of reinstates that character and it wasn't just like a throwaway like, oh, I'm sorry. It actually shows that there was a change within him. I don't know, like I don't know if we'll get more from him, if like it'll, I don't know, maybe he like joins them but he's injured, so like I don't know, but I thought it was a really nice moment.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it just added, now that we're spending so much time in this community, it's like we need to start to identify who is who and why they are who they are and things like that. So I just think that we need good supporting characters to make this work. I think that in the one-off episodes in season 1, you give a lot of room for those side characters to breathe. Like you only get the 2 episodes with, or one, I don't even know if it's 1 or 2, but with Murray Bartlett and Nick Offerman's character, and they only serve a very small section of Joel's overall story, but they're built up so well that you care so deeply when they die. And it's like, we need to start to feel that with the Jackson Hole residents. You know what I mean? And I think the only new character that we're feeling is Dina, and Dina's literally the main.
She's now one of the main characters
in Last of Us too. Yeah. So they still got some work to do. I mean, it's not that it's a bad episode, but I think that hopefully we get some more action next week. I think that, again, we have 4 episodes left. It's a shortened season comparatively. Season 1 was 10 episodes, right? Or was it 8?
Let me check.
But it is a shorter season than the first, and we know we're getting a season 3. So, but it's also like, if this is going to be 7 episodes, then where are we going to go with season 3?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I'm a little nervous. Season 1 was 9 episodes.
9 episodes. So we got 2 less episodes in this season, and we still have to introduce a whole new character who's going to serve a purpose. But I think, again, that second game is a beast, like Mark has said. There's a lot of hours that they have to kind of get through. So hopefully this isn't a sophomore slump, but coming off of last week, a little disappointed for me.
Okay.
But
I wasn't, but I had low expectations.
Yeah, but excited, hopefully, for next week's episode to be better. And I'm excited to see where they go on this journey. I'm curious to learn more about the wolves and and I'm hoping that we get more from Jesse and we get more from Tommy and Gail as we move along. But that is our review and discussion for episode 3 of season 2 of The Last of Us. Let us know in the comments, what are your guys' thoughts? Did you guys like this episode coming off of last week's crazy episode? Were you guys expecting more? Were you guys exactly where you kind of were, like Liz? But let us know in the comments, what are your guys' thoughts? Give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. We're not only covering The Last of Us, we have other reviews up on the channel for, we have a review up right now for Sinners. If you guys haven't seen that movie, stop this review and go see that movie in the theater because it's amazing. Tons of other things we're talking about. We're talking about the studio. We have a review upcoming soon for Marvel's Thunderbolts. We covered Daredevil Born Again. We covered The White Lotus. Tons of things and other things upcoming for you guys as well. We also have interviews on the channel, and we got news today, yippee, that we will be back this year for the Tribeca Film Festival in New York. So look out for some of our coverage of that in June. And if you guys want to follow us on social media, you could do that as well. All that stuff is below me in the video. It's also in our YouTube description. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. You can check out our other stuff on YouTube. We're on Threads. We're on Facebook. So you can find all our stuff there. And the handles, like I said, are in the description. So just signing off. I am Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Liz Seiko.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.